Hello, everybody. I'm Beth Shero. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Shero Commerce. Welcome to our Shero Live today. We have an exciting topic about Shopify Flow and what are the final things you can do to prepare and automate before Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Crazy. We got a week ahead of us here before it all hits. I'm sure most of you are very prepared, so you shouldn't have anything to worry about there. But we just thought it would be really useful to talk about some of the tools that Shopify is offering with Shopify Flow. And I was just recently at an event in New York City with Shopify at their new office, which is a beautiful office. If you ever have an opportunity, go check it out. And we did a fireside chat around how to you create retention with your clients, and thinking about Black Friday is like just the beginning of how you can retain and grow those clients. But something interesting came out of that conversation, which inspired today's talk about Shopify Flow, because I think a lot of brands aren't really utilizing it as much as they can. And I got together with Gavin from our team, who's going to be joining us, to put together some simple things that you can do. Couple other quick announcements. We were just at the Slush event in Helsinki in Finland. Nicole, our GM in the UK, went there and did a great dinner with our Nordics team, and we're able to celebrate some of the great brands that we saw out there. So that was a great event, and I'm excited to connect further with the brands that we were able to meet. And I was also in New York City again this week, for Empower Her event, which was around leadership, women empowerment. It was just a great way to connect and collaborate with all types of different types of women. And then finally, before we bring Gavin in, I think I spoke a little bit about it last live, but we are officially a Shopify Premier Partner. We're so excited about this. We've been working so hard, and excited to continue to grow. So we'll have some credits at the end to celebrate that further, but couldn't have done it without our partnership with Shopify, all the people at Shopify that have supported us, the team at Shero, and all our friends out there. So without further ado, let's bring in Gavin McKew, our director of Shopify Practice.
Hey
Welcome,
there.
Gavin.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. Just getting ready for Black Friday. Amazing.
Who isn't, right? It's that time of year. It's crazy to think we're here already.
True.
Awesome. So, I mean, you're a big fan of Shopify Flow. So, like when I brought this to you, you were like a kid in a candy store, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was. I think it's undoubtedly Shopify's most powerful app. I think that they've made in sense of their apps that they own themselves. It's incredibly underutilized by all ranges of brands on small, medium, and enterprise level. I think enterprise brands somehow think that the functions it serves are done elsewhere. So they think it's delivered by their integrations. Small brands, to a degree, think that they potentially don't need the efficiencies that Flow brings. So I just think there's a huge opportunity. And we were recently doing an onboarding with a client, and this client was doing in the tens of millions of dollars of revenue. They've been on Shopify for a while, and they didn't have Flow installed at
Oh, wow.
all. And I was kind of like, whoa, like at all? Like you don't use anything, like nothing, not even.
Well, I think it's like
And
a
they,
hidden gem, right?
it's like a hidden gem that everybody, like from an operational standpoint, it just it's like I think it's this ridiculous level of features. People are potentially scared of it. They think it happens elsewhere. And I think it's super valuable and one of Shopify's greatest assets, I think, that kind of comes out of the box. So yeah, great to talk on it today.
Awesome. So we have some slides that are going to help guide us. I mean, everybody knows, all about what's coming up with Black Friday and Cyber Monday. But just to have some good stats, a lot of brands are really depending on this upcoming week for their whole year. Some brands are very dependent on the holiday season. And I think, there can be a lot that goes wrong when you have that influx of orders coming in, right? And customer service, like there's just a lot to think about and like be prepared for And that's kind of, again, why we thought this would be super valuable, because giving you tips where you can't actually implement it before Friday, or like, you got to think about it and plan it, is really hard. So we wanted to make sure you could leave here today with some practical things that you could actually do. And Gavin is brilliantly going to show us how easy it is, right, Gavin?
Well, maybe not easy, but to add to that first point though, Beth, I think Black Friday is such a built-up event for brands. They get their stock ready, they get the discount codes ready. The marketing team have been in action for months. At this point, nobody wants to really touch anything in case
Yeah.
it breaks anything that any of the teams have. So rather than give like the big fancy flaws that are possible that potentially could hinder with other parts of the operation from the brand, the flaws that I'm kind of, that we're going to talk about today are ones that are really easy to implement, really powerful, will have no effect in a very high likelihood of any other part of the brand. So can be quickly deployed in this kind of like week to week and a half of before we kind of hit the peak.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing we're always conscious of and thinking of is the amount of effort and time some of these things take, and how to reduce that time, which obviously
Yeah.
equals money, minimizing friction, not only on the front end of the website, but like on the back end of operations, is always a
Uh,
win,
uh,
right?
exactly. Like a lot of e-com's always about, revenue generation and CAC increase in LTV and all that stuff's great, but I think a lot of the opportunity does lie in the operational side, and
Yeah.
and it isn't particularly dived in on potentially, but I think that's more of a grander picture of the possibilities of Flow as opposed to what can be deployed now super quickly to deliver value or give some level of insight. I think Black Friday. I mean, I've owned many brands through Black Friday. I've worked for tens of brands for 25 years on Black Friday.
Yeah.
The part I always liked the most, Beth, I think was like how Black Friday felt when you were on brand side. You kind of feel it a little bit on agency side. Product kind of just needs to make sure that it doesn't go down. But on
Right.
brand side, all of the work's already been done, and it's now, does the work or does it not work? So it's
Yeah.
kind of
The moment.
yeah, does marketing deliver the results? Does fulfillment get them out the door in time? And does the website stay as it needs to? Is it delivering all it is? Did we hit targets? There's all this going on. It's super exciting on brand side. I feel it's like it's almost Christmas for brands to a degree.
Yeah, totally. So, I know we're talking about Shopify Flow, but for anybody that's new to Shopify or just talking about e-commerce in general, I thought it'd be useful for us to just, simplify and explain what Shopify Flow is. Because it is a great tool to use. It can connect to other systems. It's really about a no code situation for the most part, like, where you can create different triggers and actions. So I don't know. Is there anything you want to add to that, Gavin, that you think is
Um,
important? Like for anyone that's totally new
Yeah,
to the
totally new.
tool?
It's free on all plans of Shopify. You can install it just directly through the App Store. You can essentially just go to Shopify and type in Flow, and it will install. It won't break anything when you do install, so don't be scared to even install it. I would also say to a degree, maybe not on Black Friday, but maybe after Black Friday, is do play with it.
Yeah.
Do look at certain operations I feel that exist within the organization, certainly like repetitive operations or risk factors or things that could potentially be brought into Flow. But I think you covered everything there, Beth, to be fair.
Awesome. Yeah. So maybe after we can follow up with a link to it in case you're not sure where to go, but it's pretty easy to find on the App Store if you search Shopify Flow. And then, oops, I didn't update this one.
Oh, is you there?
But we have three flows basically. The first and the last are combined. So we have the fraud alert, the low inventory,
Tight,
and order
tight,
tracking
tight. But yeah,
discounts. Yes, yeah. We're messing around. We're just trying to be like
I'll go.
realistic how much time it takes. So the first one we're going to talk about is fraud alert and rapid order. So, Gavin, when we
Yeah,
started talking about this and you were like, I was like, what flows could we do? You were like, this one's so critical. And maybe you can explain from your perspective why it's even
yeah,
more critical than any other time of year.
exactly. I think Shopify's fraud protection's amazing. Like it's really great. It uses AI. It has a whole host of rules and regulations on whether cards and certain payment methods can transact. And even though it's fine, occasionally a card or an order could get through. And when it does get through by people who are fraudulent, one of the big highlights of fraud is what's called rapid order fraud. So essentially, they manage to get a card through that or a payment method through that meets criteria. And if it meets criteria, so it's potentially shipping to the correct address and yada yada yada. Um, what they would then do is they would rapidly order from that merchant. So they would order lots of orders in a short period of time, and they wouldn't be picked up on until later. And as mentioned here, fraud costs e-commerce brands $40 billion a year. And that's the numbers we know. It's probably a lot
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
the spike over Black Friday is huge because essentially the scammers use this time to mask around such large order volumes anyway. So they kind of utilize the fact that it's a busy period. It's harder for
Hmm.
e-commerce brands to flag. You're in safe hands with Shopify. It's not in any context that fraud's going to get through. But if one type of fraud I seen on brand side was popular around Black Friday, it was essentially rapid order fraud. And this is not like if somebody manages to get a card through on a particular or a payment method through at a particular time, they're going to really try to utilize that card by rapidly ordering from that brand and ordering a lot more orders. So this floor is made to essentially flag that that's happened and cancel those orders.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. So I think everybody that's here, thank you again for joining us, understands this flow that we're going to be showing. And this one you did pre-build, but there will be one that you're actually going to show from the ground up.
Yeah,
Um,
you give me 10 minutes, Beth. I had to
I
pre-build
know,
two
I
of
know,
them.
I know, I know, I know. I'm just messing with you. But why don't you bring your screen up and let's take a look at it so people can understand like the logic behind it, what you want to think about as you're building it, and what you did.
Yeah, so this is Shopify Flow, and the first part of any flow is essentially a trigger, and a trigger is an event that occurs. And in this particular scenario, an order is being created. When an order is created, this essentially gets the order data, the amount of time, check and remove, and then it counts the items within the order. You can add additional logic to this. But the part that really matters here is you add essentially a condition. And the condition states that if 5 orders have been placed within a set amount of time, that and you can change this count. You might have customers that order 5 orders because they
Right.
constantly come back. You might want to increase. This is purely for demo purposes. You pick that number wisely with your brand. Don't stop legitimate orders. And then the condition essentially then has some actions, and those actions are it adds tags to the customers and states that they're rapid order fraud customers. And for each order data, cancel the order, notify that this happens, refund, and stock. So it will put the stock back into play. It will refund and restock the items, so you don't run out of the items. so this is this is essentially what this flow does based off a certain amount of orders.
So let me ask you a question. Could you have the order like flagged and paused without automatically refunding it too?
Yeah, yeah. You could just simply you could untick refund. You could untick restock on this option, and it would just send the notification. You could send the notification internally or externally. In this scenario, we aren't sending a notification to the customer to let them know it's fraudulent
Right,
because
that
they
would be
might think,
weird.
it might.
Or maybe
Yeah,
it's a good way to communicate because maybe that
mm,
customer, I don't
it,
know, made
it,
a mistake
I,
or I don't know.
potentially.
Whatever
I
happened to
think
you?
if it got through on one website though that was on Shopify and the scammer knew this, they could essentially repeat the same fraud quickly on another website. It doesn't happen often. Like the fraud protection's excellent, but if one does get through for whatever means, um, what they will generally try to do is place a lot of orders quickly. You could also add some additional rules to this fraud as well. You could add the value of the orders that was created by one customer was higher. So if your AOV was, let's say, $100 and anybody placed more than 5 orders and all orders totaled more than $5,000,
Right, right. That's a big one.
you could then put that through to add some additional checks. But I just wanted to show this as an example. This is really easy to build. You could probably build this in 5-10 minutes in any brand. You could do this before Black Friday. It does add some additional protection.
Nice. Okay. That looks great. And I know that's always such an important topic for many brands, and it's so painful to have to deal with fraud in general. So I think that's a great example and like a way to warm us up to the Shopify Flow options. And as you could see, like if you think of that logic, how you build the trigger, the conditionals, like you can do so many things. We're only talking about three, right? Like when we started talking about it, Gavin, you were like, we could do this and this and this. So like, what made you narrow down these three? I'm just curious before we go to the next one.
I was thinking about the highest value ones you could deploy for a Black Friday event. Essentially, large amount of orders. What can allow the things that you would potentially need to know in the quickest frame that could be built easy. Like you could build, the level of complexity you can now build in Flow is pretty wild. It's kind of use your imagination of what you would like to happen and what you would like to trigger. You can connect it
Yeah.
to webhooks, you can connect it to third-party systems like Zapier and NAN. There's a whole host of things you could do that's really wild. But essentially, just for this kind of, this talk is 9 days before Black Friday. So 8 days before Black Friday. So it's what can we deploy quickly that brings most value. This is potentially one of them.
Awesome. Okay. So let's go to our second one, low inventory.
Yeah, this is an odd one for Black Friday, Beth, I think, in the sense that Black Friday seems to have got longer. I seen
Right.
some of the brands I followed started doing sales nearly 2 weeks ago. I've
Hmm.
heard, speaking to brands, I've heard it's been linked to kind of high cost per click prices on the main days. So they're trying to spread out their sales across that period of time. But that I think because it's longer at the start, it'll run right through Christmas, but then you're going right into the new year, and not every brand has the ability to restock quickly. But
Hmm.
knowing that you might have to, certainly for even your January sale window, is certainly powerful. So even though it's not a case of, if you get your inventory for other countries or it needs manufactured, it might not necessarily work for every brand, but any brand that has the ability to check whether a variant is running low on stock and be alerted early without relying on third-party systems to kind of flag them, you having a secondary alert is probably not a bad thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's really smart because the experience, right? Like when you're buying a gift or you're shopping at these peak times, when you get finally to the decision where you're like, I'm ready to go, like I think the way you shop during this peak period is so different. And if you get to that page and then it's out of stock, like that is
Yeah.
so frustrating. Like,
Yeah.
um, so, it just highlighting that, like, not only does this help you from an operational standpoint, but it also helps you avoid like frustrated clients, like customers basically that wanted something and can't get it. So you're not misleading them or, they don't get annoyed. And, because I just
Yeah.
feel like I've seen it where you then order it and then they're like, oh, we're actually out of stock and it's in back order. Like I just feel like so many things can go awry at this time of year that can be very frustrating.
And it's the person internally, I think, that's kind of responsible for making sure that that doesn't happen. And you find even huge brands are still, they maybe don't have ERPs, they're still using spreadsheets and they're still checking certain SKUs manually. You'd be really surprised at how many brands still do that. It's quite wild. And this
Yeah.
is one of the very easy flaws that could easily be implemented just to alert, because you kind of, if we've got an earlier Black Friday season and then we're getting into Black Friday now, and then that extends right till Christmas, immediately you're going right into a January sale period. There's like
Right.
almost there's 2 to 3 moments where you need to make sure that you've got inventory, and making sure those the internal teams and the internal buyers know that they need to restock is important.
Yeah, and I mean, it can also, like, if you're like on the merchandising team, it can help you understand like how you want to handle, like you wouldn't want to highlight those products on your homepage, obviously, things like,
Exactly.
or
Emails,
the
emails going out marketing team.
yeah, on the catalog category page and stuff like that. So like I just feel like it
Exactly.
impacts a lot of different team members. Like this information becomes very important.
Exactly. I think across brands as well. I was speaking to a brand the other day, and when they get low inventory, they kill ads before they've run out of inventory, quite
Smart.
long before they
Yeah.
because they know naturally they'll run out of inventory anyway without spending the money on the ads. So they'd rather have eyes on their other products as opposed to. So it affects the buyers, it affects the marketing team, this PCC team. It's totally across the org.
Yeah, totally. So let's show everybody how you create this flow now.
Okay, so this one has a trigger. Again, I mentioned that earlier, trigger is an event, and this trigger is that the workflow starts when an inventory level changes of a specific product. So you essentially say when inventory changes of any product, this is when this starts. So it starts every single time there's an order and every single time there's an inventory change. This could also be inventory change that's done in back office. It doesn't need to be sold online. Somebody could buy them through draft orders and invoices. It would still work in the same way. But then essentially from this trigger, you go into a condition. And this condition simply states that if we have less than 20 in stock, and if we had less than 20 prior in stock before that started, and the SKU is, you don't have to have this SKU set, you could run this universally, and the SKU meet a certain set of criteria. So you can
Mm,
do this at SKU level, you could do this at full catalog level, you could add some other variants and other conditions around what this looks like to make this more unique to your brand. I just did this as an example. And this essentially would say if that SKU runs out of stock, the action that I need you to take is I need you to send an internal email. And you can add the email addresses of the internal people that would need to know that this event has occurred. This could be a marketing team, it could be a buying team, it could be a merchandising team. And even if you've got other systems that handle this, potentially in ERP,
right.
potentially
Good call out.
in in WMS, you could still have a fallback for this just to flag. Some owners like to know when they're low on inventory. Some business owners like to know outside of their team. So this flow can be
Yeah.
set up really easy. It's only 3 steps. This one literally will take 5 minutes.
Nice. Yeah, and actually that brings a really great point that you can automate reporting. So if you have a manager or a business owner that always wants certain information, um, you could, say the top 10 performing products this week or whatever, right? Like there's a lot of things you
Yeah.
could do like that, so that they're not like, where's my report? And you're like heads down trying to like get through the day, or maybe it's Black Friday and you actually want to take the day off if you have that luxury. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Proactive, not reactive, Beth, is the
yes,
answer there, right?
exactly.
That's
Yeah,
what it is. It's about being proactive and not reactive. And I think if brands got a little bit more that way, it's hard. But I think for brands, a lot of the work, most of the work on Black Friday happened months in advance.
totally. Yeah, yeah, totally. Okay, so we've had two so far. So we've talked about fraud, low inventory, and the final one we're going to review today is the order tagging discounts. So talk
Yeah.
us through this idea that you have here and why you think it's so important for brands.
I think what I always loved when I was in brands is I always loved how Black Friday's, you always get a feel if the day's going well. And
Yeah,
if your marketing campaigns are working in certain ways, you might have given certain discount codes to certain, customer segments. You might have given certain discounts codes to certain, you might sell school products and you give discounts to teachers or you give discounts to
Right.
pupils, and they might have different codes. And you just want to kind of see and get a general feel without looking at full reports. Now, obviously, you can pull this up in Gemini and get super detailed reports in real time. But I often find that brands look more in the order dashboard page of Shopify on Black Friday day, and getting a feel for that is kind of a key to see if there's, there's Friday, you've still got 72 hours till Monday to fix
Yeah.
anything in around there as well. So I think this is mainly around the brand feeling. So this floor is set up so in your order page on Shopify, you would essentially see a tag next to every single order that used a particular discount code. So if a customer purchases a product or places an order with a particular discount code used, it will just highlight that on your order page collectively of what discount code they used and that happened. So you don't need to go into reports. You can just see it happening almost in real time.
Awesome. Yeah, and I it's almost like you're getting a vibe, right? Like it's
Get a
helping
vibe.
you understand and get a feel without going too much into the weeds. So you can adjust if you needed to. I love that. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, it's not C-suite level reporting. It's more team on the ground feeling that their work is now coming to fruition type scenario. But really valuable and kind of interesting to see. I think you'd have to go into every order or keep on pulling the same report every few hours, as opposed to just look at your order dashboard, see what codes are coming through, and check it out that way.
Awesome. So this one you're actually going to build out in real time with us,
Oh, you're killing me. Yeah, I
right?
am.
This is
You are.
our treat for everybody.
Yeah, let me see
Yeah.
here. Okay, let's do this in real time then. So I'm in Shopify Flow. I'll try and do this super quick. I'm going to create a workflow. I'm going to select a trigger, and the trigger for this one is going to be order created. So essentially, this is saying when an order is created, that's when you start. And then I'm going to check. So I'm going to give it a condition. So you get the choice of an action and a condition. An action is do something. A condition is check something. That's really what it is. And this condition is going to be check if order discount order discount codes. And on this particular occasion, I'm going to use starts with, and I'm going to explain why, because I think this is important. Let's say that you send out a number of discount codes to different customers, but you always start them with the same code. So you might start them with save always, and it might be save 10, save 20. It'd be a bit of a bad idea to do it this way, but essentially you start them with the same suffix. And in this one, we'll use save. And then this way, then it will use anything that starts with the code save. If you want to get really specific, you could put in the exact code and say is equal to, and we would pull the exact code. But in this scenario, I'm just showing you that you could do it as a more collective as opposed to.
Yeah, because what if you did like Black Friday or Cyber Monday and you had other coupons outside of that, but you don't want to get like flooded. You just want to see what's happening that weekend. That's where my head's at when you say this.
Exactly. It's either equal to or start with or however you want that to work. And then we're going to give it a couple of actions. So I'm going to add this and I'm going to give it an action. And I'm going to say add order tags. So now I'm going to say when a discount code starts with save, I can give it an order tag to add. So discount. I'll get there.
Okay.
I'll get there. And then if we do this and then we run it, that would then add a discount. Now we could also add customer tags within the same flow. So you don't need to make a separate flow. So if a customer's used the discount, you can also add a tag to the customer and add a tag to the order. To do that, we'll just add another action and we'll say add customer tag. And this will do the same. So, and we could say customer used save. And that's it. We could turn the
So what
workflow
is
on.
that? Can you repeat what that one means? I missed
Yes.
it.
So there's two different types of tags in Shopify. Well, there's many different types of tags in
Okay.
Shopify, but the two main ones are order tags and customer tags. So if I exit this and I can show you what that means. So we have orders here, and order
Mhm.
tags would appear next to the order.
Okay.
So you would
Got
see
it.
them here. But if a customer has a tag and you go to customers, it would have the tag here. So
Oh,
you can tag, so you can
okay.
tag against the customer and against an order. It can help for reporting. It can
Yeah.
help for certain other rules. You could create other flows that had triggers set by tags. So you could essentially say if orders have been tagged with this and customer has these 5 tags, send them an additional discount code. Send them
Uh,
an additional order. And you can do that all within Flow. You don't need to sort of leave Flow to do that. So if a customer's used 3 different discount codes, stop them using discounts, I suppose, could be an option. But there's a lot of other things you can do around this. I mean,
fair. Maybe it's a good incentive for that type of customer.
LTV, Beth, LTV. Yeah. But yeah, there's lots of scenarios that this could be used on. But essentially, what I'm saying there is the exact same flow that has the same trigger, the same condition, can have a number of actions. This is just some examples, so you could make it do certain things because those conditions essentially have been met.
Nice. Okay. And then you could add to where it emails the marketing team, for example.
Exactly. You could add another condition that said when this happens, please email the marketing team. A lot of brands on Black Friday day will constantly refresh the orders page. They'll be looking at this orders page. They'll be seeing how many orders come in, and they essentially look at the date and minute to see how often orders are coming in, and they're almost calculating how many. If you're getting an order every minute, so you're essentially getting 60 orders in an hour, and they know what their AOV is. They know their busy hours and non-busy hours. Now they can look at their
Yeah.
dash and pull off all sorts of other reports. It's all great, but again, it's that vibe conversation, Beth, on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Do you know what I mean? Like it gives you more of a vibe. I'm just going to bring the floor back up, just to finally show you this floor, which is I don't think it was this one I made.
Did it save? I don't know if you hit save. Okay. Whew.
Yeah,
I got nervous.
it automatically saves.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
nice.
so this is a trigger of an order created. The condition is that the discount code is save 10, and then the actions that I need you to do when that discount code is used is I want you to add an order tag and I want you to add a customer tag. The tags can be anything you want them to be. They don't have to be anything specific. It's just so you get that vibe.
Very cool. Okay.
Very cool.
That's very nice. So I mean, this is just like the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. Like these are really just getting you familiar with Shopify Flow and how you can be empowered to get that data in a snapshot. But like Gavin said, there's so many different things you can do with this tool. You could see as he was kind of like loading that last one up, like as you start searching, how many different parameters you can put in there. Like I think I would advise people before they kind of play around with it, or even when they're playing around with it, to see what the options are and like really strategize. Like what are, like you said in the beginning, Gavin, like what are you doing repetitively, or like what do you need more visibility on, or what do you need to communicate out, right? Like
Yeah.
because there's so much there. It's a great tool to utilize.
There's literally hundreds of templates now. They're bringing out new ones every other week.
Oh, cool.
So there's tons of templates. You can literally just go in and browse the template section, search for something that's close. If you're a bit unsure of one of the great ways to learn Flow, I think, is almost load up a template that's close to what you might want, and then almost reverse engineer it and have a look at what you think it's doing, and then make it your own to the brand. It's kind of a
Yeah.
really smart way to learn.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. And as you saw, it's very approachable. You don't need to know any code. You just need to understand the logic of what you're trying to accomplish, right? A lot of those can be done very quickly. Obviously, you want to test them. That's probably the longer part, maybe in some scenarios.
But if you notice, Beth, I picked the ones that couldn't break anything else. So
Yes.
so essentially, adding things like tags doesn't stop orders going to the warehouse. Do you get what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they were strategically chosen to add value, not break anything, not annoy other members of your team and other departments that you could potentially
Don't annoy
break
your
their
team
workflow.
members. Good tip. Don't break anything and don't annoy your team members. But again, just to bring it full circle, we're really talking about these small automations or automations in general that can really create visibility, accountability, like just creating a little bit more sense of like, I got this, like the vibe, like understanding what's going on. So I think this has been great. And I really appreciate everybody that showed up. I hope you all learned something. And if there's a flow you're curious about or want to learn more, like please reach out. We definitely can help you even strategize on how you might want to set those flows up, or if you're not sure where to begin, we can even do it for you. But just to highlight some takeaways, make sure you're tracking what you're doing. Obviously, no brainer there. These things can help you protect your profit, and make sure you have happy customers at the end. So whatever you do, make sure your site's got the least amount of friction possible so they can check out as quickly as possible on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And again, please contact us if you're curious to learn more about Flow. Gavin, is there anything else you want to add for the takeaways?
I think you wrapped up that pretty perfectly. I just hope any brands that are watching kind of have a killer Black Friday and a Cyber Monday.
Yes.
I hope make hay whilst it's good.
Yeah, and I added this bacon because I think everybody loves bacon, but you know, you want to make the bacon.
Make the bacon, make the bacon.
Okay, well, I think that's a wrap, Gavin, unless there's anything you want to highlight. I think it's been great having you here to show like very practical things that anybody can tackle before Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And I think we
Great to
can
be here.
here. Yeah.
Great to be here. I enjoyed that. That was super fun.
Again, if you have any questions or want to learn more, please feel free to reach out. And as always, I'm Beth Shero. Always be learning.